Sambit Patra of the BJP and Randeep Singh Surjewala of the Congress. Thanks both of you for being with us. Mr. Patra, I'm going to begin with you because it looks like amidst all the political logjam, will you concede that the government is completely on the back foot as far as the land bill is concerned? There's plenty and plenty of opposition.
No, I would not be saying that the government is anywhere near being in back foot, because actually what's happening over here is a posturing by the opposition. The posturing since, I mean, we were all aware of the fact that Rahul Gandhi was away for a while, approximately 2 months, and today when he has returned, essentially a relaunch of Rahul Gandhi is what the Congress is up to, and that's the reason as to why this kind of posturing that we are seeing. Over here the important issue is what's the land bill and why a big deal made by the opposition. An opposition which is not finding any other any other reason as to why they should be how they should be taking on the government, feels that the land bill is probably the only way they can salvage themselves. In 2013 there was a bill after about 60 long years, from 1894 to 2013. This draconian law was there. In 2013, after due deliberance of all the parties, a new law came into being. But the problem was, once there was a meeting between the chief ministers of various states with the minister then, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, most of these chief ministers, even the Congress ruled ones, they emphatically stated that as far as certain amendments are required, they are really need to be made. And we have done that. So what is the problem with it? I don't understand.
Right. Randeep Singh Surjewala, comment on that. Is the opposition to the land bill merely political rhetoric, as Sambit points out? Are you paying them back for what they did to the UPA government while you were in power for 10 years?
Well, I think those who are saying this are either looking at it from a myopic political prism or do not have clear understanding of the issues. Right to Fair Compensation Act was passed in 2013 with complete political unanimity, with BJP supporting it. What happened when before the act was implemented? Why is Mr. Modi trying to kill the Right to Fair Compensation Act? Is giving a fair compensation to farmer and making him as a part of the developmental process crime? Being pro-farmer does not mean being anti-industry. Also, 60% of population of this country is farmer and farm laborer, 54% of workforce is it. And when they are suffering, to raise their voice, to champion their cause, and that is why Mr. Rahul Gandhi said today, Prime Minister should switch sides from a select corporate to the side of the farmers. It will be politically beneficial for him.
Fair enough. Sambit Patra, comment on that. One will have to ask you this very basic question, which is that you supported the bill in its entirety in 2013 when the UPA moved it. Why then a need for such a drastic change, rewriting the entire architecture? Were you wrong then, or are you wrong now?
No, it's important. The question that you have asked is a very pertinent one, and definitely people are asking this question. To this, let me say that in 2013, even the Prime Minister on the floor of Parliament had spoken about this. In 2013, there was a lot of deliberation on this bill and the bill was passed. But once the bill was passed, the important part was most of the chief ministers, including the ones which were ruled by the Congress, for instance, Mr. Huda, Prithviraj Chauhan from Maharashtra, and all of these chief ministers had problem with the kind of bill that was passed in 2013. And they wrote letters to the minister then that please do something about the consent clause, at least reduce it to 50% or 40%, or if you don't want to reduce it, give the pass of the consent clause and the social impact assessment to the state. So what the government has done presently in the 2014 ordinance is that it has transferred the powers to the state. So the kind of misinformation that is being quoted by the opposition that the consent clause has been done away with is absolutely a farcical one, because now the power lies with the state, the appropriate authority. That's what has been mentioned, that if they want to move ahead with the consent clause, they can surely move ahead with the consent clause. And let me also remind you of the fact that the most important part as to why this ordinance was brought, as articulated by the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister, were the 13 clauses which in fact had been exempted from the rehabilitation and compensation clauses. And these 13 clauses, under which most of the land acquisition occurs, be it for metro rail, be it for the coal blocks, be it for railways, be it for highways, most of the acquisition occurred under these clauses. They were exempted. So to bring all these into the ambit of the land acquisition bill, the last date was 31st December 2014. So keeping this in view, the government has taken a stand, and this should be appreciated.
Mr. Surjewala, I'm going to raise a question that some political observers are beginning to ask, that while the opposition has been very, very united against the land laws so far, the BJP believes it can break through this unity with parties like the NCP and the BJD, something that Mr. Gadkari alluded to in our exclusive conversation just a while back. Do you fear the opposition's unity being broken at this stage?
Supriya, that is the problem with Modi government. They look at every issue not from the nation's point of view or farmers and farm laborers' livelihood point of view. For Mr. Modi and his manager, everything is negotiable. Everything can be bartered, bought and sold. BJD supported the mines bill that the BJP government had brought in Rajya Sabha, and 3 days thereafter changed its mind and said they have been greatly duped. So every political party, while they will take their call, but no political party wants to go against its basic grain, and that is to voice the concerns of the landless, the Adivasi and the farmer. And we believe it's not a Congress issue per se, it is an issue of livelihood and survival for 60% of India's population. And anybody who wants to champion that voice, feels their pain, feels their anguish and agony, would walk alongside Congress. They can walk ahead if they want to, we do not mind.
Sambit Patra, at the end of the day, politics is about pragmatism. And doesn't the political pragmatism warrant that you concede space to the opposition? Because this is an issue on which the entire opposition seems to be united. There are no divisions within the opposition. And so standoff in many ways can be ill-afforded by the government.
Number one, pragmatism is a word which is always essential, not only for this government or any government, but in democracy, the most pragmatic way is the word consensus. That you need to develop consensus by debating, discussing, and even if required, diluting, as you were questioning. But I believe sufficient dilution has already been done. I mean, the 9 amendments that were brought in the last session, the last stretch of the session, we had seen a quite in keeping with the voice that was raised by the opposition party, by the states. So I think the opposition party should be happy with the fact that their views has been inculcated. But if at all they have any further views, as assured by Prime Minister and the Parliamentary Affairs Minister, Mr. Venkaiah Naidu, definitely, the government would take a call on all of these views. The government would deliberate upon it, and that's the reason as to why the floor of Parliament should be a floor not of disruption, but of debate and discussion.
Mr. Surjewala, I have a last question to ask of you. We're completely running out of time here. But, by constantly hitting out against the government and blaming it for being pro-rich and pro-corporates and favouring big business, isn't the Congress actually alienating India Inc. even further? They almost eluded you as far as general elections were concerned. But don't you run that risk? You're alienating corporate India far and further away from the Congress party.
Being pro-farmer, pro-industry as also pro-development can be on the same page. So I don't think so Congress is alienating any section. All that we are saying is, do not throttle the voice of the farmer, do not snatch his land which is like his mother, do not snatch his livelihood, do not take away the right to life and live and earn a livelihood of a landless laborer, and please take the land if you have to, but please hear him out, take as much land as is needed and pay adequate compensation. Do not muzzle the voice of the person who for generations together, for hundreds of years, has earned the life from that land, and make him a part in the developmental process. That is definitely not being anti-industry. We do stand for creation of more jobs. We do stand for industrialization. After all, it is the Congress party that saw the growth trajectory of 7 to 9% in 10 years of UPA rule. But that happened with consent of the farmer.
Randeep Surjewala, Sambit Patra, I'm afraid we're out of time. Thanks for joining in with a big political debate right here on Business Tonight. I guess by the looks of it,
pleasure, thank you.
It's unlikely that we're going to see any kind of a consensus come through on that contentious land bill.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.